Farmers today are facing rising costs, volatile markets, and extreme weather. The A Better Way to Farm podcast digs into strategies to help you take control of farm inputs and maximize profit so your farm can thrive for generations. Remember to take advantage of our free resources at abetterwaytofarm.com. Now, from America's Heartland, here's your host. Welcome back to the A Better Way to Farm podcast. I'm your gracious host, Tyler, National Field Agronomist for the team. As you know, we spend each and every day increasing yields and improving profits. On this episode, as we get closer to spring planting season, there are some tips and tricks and a seed treatment that I wanted to discuss with my great friend and one that you've heard on this podcast platform as well. He is also a National Field Agronomist for the A Better Way to Farm team. So if you would help me welcome back to the show, my great friend, Preston, welcome back.
Thanks, buddy. Great to be here.
I tell you what, it's nice that we travel around and we are at these 2-day fundamentals of agronomy events. If you're listening and you haven't been to one, I highly recommend you come to one. But it's always nice to sit down and kind of discuss some of the current event things with you and kind of talk about what we can do in the future. And I know there's a lot of question about what can growers do in 2025 to be more successful this year than they were last year. You know, margins are tight, ROI is at a premium, and there are some things that we can do, some very simple things that we can do and that we can recommend and we can help our clients out with. And one of them happens to be in the world of seed treatment. So as usual, jumping on here and standing on the soapbox, I wanted to invite you on and have you help us explain to our clients some of the seed treatment options we have and how that can increase your ROI on your farm, you know, regardless of a soil test or not. But where would you lead off if you were talking to someone for the first time about what we can offer on the seed treatment world?
Yep. So, you know, you and I went through that study where Iowa State did studies on seed treatments. And with corn seed today, it's very difficult to find corn seed that's not pre-treated.
Yeah, it's like 98% of
yes.
Exactly. Corn that's treated in the United States.
Yep. But I want you to do a little research and find out what exactly those treatments are, because we looked at some treatments and a lot of the different companies offer the same exact treatments, just in different amounts of the concentrations of the individual components of it. And so you need to be aware of those type of things and also need to be aware of what those individual components are for and what exactly they do. We've seen some data that actually showed that some of those seed treatments actually have a negative effect versus the check. And so you need to know those kind of things and look at those kind of things. And, you know, when corn hit $7 here a while back and when beans hit $15, all of these products came out of the woodwork because it only takes a bushel to pay for it.
Yes.
And most people's yield monitors aren't in 1 bushel graduations. So that's got to be weighed out. But the seed treatment that we work with has been around for a while. It's not a Me Too product. It's not something brand new. It is patented. Yeah. And so look those kind of things up and find out what exactly you're working with and what do you want to do with a seed treatment. A seed treatment is not going to replace 100 pounds of nitrogen.
No.
A seed treatment is not going to replace
40.
It's not going to replace your nitrogen program. It's not going to replace your P&K program. It's not going to replace your fertilizer program. Yes. So don't think that you can do those kind of things with a seed treatment. There's just not enough there to do those type of things.
What are you ultimately trying to do with a seed treatment?
So my goal is to get better emergence, more even emergence, more uniform emergence. I want those corn plants to come out of the ground even and together and as fast as possible.
Yeah, because most of the seed treatments on the market, when you go to your favorite seed brand and you say, hey, I want to purchase corn for the growing season, it's going to generally come with some sort of combo pack of an insecticide and a fungicide. And that is going to try to help, you know, in cold, wet soils, you can get fungal pathogens to come up that'll ultimately, you know, kill the germ of that plant. And anytime a plant doesn't come up out of the ground, you're wasting money. Or insecticides that are going to help prevent, you know, if it's a root worm or, you know, maybe a wire worm, it's going to prevent those from coming in. But what we do and what you're suggesting is you might want to take a look at a different seed treatment. Again, you mentioned it's kind of proprietary to us and what we do, but it helps with emergence, getting every single plant up out of the ground at the same exact time. Why is that important?
That's important for a lot of reasons. We talk with a lot of people that run planter clinics and this and that, and plant stand is very important. So I'm not going to take away from that, but not only planting stand important, but also harvest stand. Because
Yes.
if those plants aren't still standing come harvest time, really you wasted the whole season. So harvest population is extremely critical and extremely important for a good return on investment and for ultimately for your bottom line.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that if you are listening to this podcast and you followed any of the social media at all, I know that Rod will often talk about how you can have just with our seed treatment alone, you can actually see a decrease in harvest moisture. And when we get that question all the time, how in the world does a seed treatment decrease the harvest moisture? Again, can you kind of explain that phenomenon that we know it's not some magical
Hocus pocus.
yeah, exactly. Can you kind of explain to the listener how that actually works?
Yep. So we can actually accelerate the maturity. And so if you can help a crop dry down and not die down, that is what we're after. We're after crop health and we want it to dry down. Rod often talks about, water hemp and water hemp. How many times do you see a water hemp die before the seeds come to maturity? And the 640,000 seeds in a water hemp plant. And so if you can harvest your crop before it dies down, get that good, healthy crop harvested.
Yeah.
You can get a lot better harvestability. You can maintain that crop health, standability, all those type of things go into that. And so ultimately, when you're starting the process, the seed treatment is where to start.
And part of that is again uniform emergence, right? If we can build a plant and it is the same growth stage the entire time throughout the growing season, you're going to reach harvest maturity at the same time as well. Generally, we don't see that. And so with our seed treatment and we get that uniform harvestability, that's what also helps drive down moisture content instead of having that variable in plant maturity, some are at R2 and some are at R5. If they all come up out of the ground at the same time, tassel at the same time, they're going to mature at the end of the season at the same time as well.
Amen to that. Yeah, you want to have that consistency, and that just helps. When you go to put it in the bin or when you go to haul it to town, having that uniform emergence will just give you better ability to market it correctly and better ability to store it correctly.
When we met each other, this is one of the products that you said, hey, I was still in the seed industry, and you said you might want to take a look at this, especially with the growers that you work with. If you can increase yield, ultimately what's happening is you're not increasing your plant stand, but you're maintaining what you've planted and pulling that through harvest. Anytime that you can increase that yield, increase that return on investment, that's to me, that's probably more important than an increase in yield. It's an increase in return on the money that you invested into that product. And what I saw over 3 years of doing this was almost a 7 bushel advantage. And I know that you did plots for years and years and years. I'm excited about you doing another plot. I know we've talked about that. I think we're going to revamp how that system works. But what are some of the things that you're seeing not only with an increased yield, but also with it's easy to say increase stand at planting, but ultimately just maintaining that stand at planting.
Yeah, we did some test plots in the years past, and I actually have some pictures of when the corn came up. The stuff that was treated actually came up the day before the stuff that wasn't treated. And so that to me is a true testament of the seed treatment and what it does. You talk about, stressful planting conditions and that stressful planting conditions can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people because, when it's go time, we're going to go plant. But,
Yeah.
Stressful conditions, what we're talking about with the seed treatment in this case, talk about herbicide carryover.
Yeah.
This product that we talk about has the ability to increase the energy in that seedling.
Yep.
And so that is very important in drought conditions. It's very important in wet conditions, herbicide carryover, compaction, a low seed lot vigor. When you get a bag of seed corn, that seed lot vigor is stamped right on the bag. And so if your seed lot vigor is a little low, we can help that. if the seed is dead, there's really not a lot we can do for the dead.
Right.
We'll say a prayer and bless them. But if the energy is low, we'll boost that low energy and give that more uniform stand and give that better emergence.
And one of the things I want to go back and reiterate was the fact that you literally led right away with drought conditions.
Yeah.
I talked about how these fungicides on these seed treatments are needed early on, especially in cold, damp conditions because of the fungal pathogens that can get in. Can you share quickly about, why you would want to take a look at our particular seed treatment in all conditions?
Yeah, I believe it was the PFR studies they did a couple years ago, and it was late replant. And they talked about how if a plant came up later, how much of a deficit that was. And I think they did ear count or they did kernel counts on the ears. And it was very significant differential when the plant that came up later. And so
It's
even
almost a
emergence,
90% reduction in yield.
yeah, that's huge. So it's even more important later when you get hot and dry versus even when cold and damp. And so you got both ends of the spectrum there. So, I don't really know that there is a time when you don't need to apply this seed treatment.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one of the things that we hear quite frequently is, "Oh, I've already got my seed treatment, or my guy's already over treating with my seed treatment." We even get some people to say that they would never over treat corn. Every time you treat corn, it continues to damage the kernel, the pericarp, any of it. Have you seen any issues over treating corn with our seed treatment?
No, I have not. Yeah, there is a society out there that talks about, the care. And you do need to care for your seed because
Yes.
it is a seed and you do have the ability to damage it. I'm going to tell you that if you do the application correctly, you'll be perfectly fine. I did a video a couple years ago where I used the flower pot auger and I treated the seed right in the seed box. Oh man, I got lit up. Oh, I would never do that to my seed. And I'm going to tell you that little flower pot auger in a seed box, 1.6 bushel hopper, does not damage the seed coating or the seed or any of the paracarp or any of that stuff. So you're good to go. Don't be ridiculous about it. It's just like with anything you work with, take your time, do it correctly. Don't be, the Wild West, and
Right.
you'll be perfectly fine.
What about ways to treat? If we have a listener that hasn't reached out to us, hasn't worked with us before, and isn't interested in learning more about this particular seed treatment and what we can do, what kind of advice would you give them on learning more about this and even how to apply this particular seed treatment to their crops?
Well, first off, I'm going to tell them if they have not been to our 2-day fundamentals of agronomy to get to one. People are looking to do things more efficiently. We are learning that you can't do it the same old way and expect different results. And so people are looking. And so we are helping those people. And the programs have been very successful this year. And we are helping more and more people. And that to me really touches my heart because I really enjoy helping people. And we've got numerous stories, people you've worked with, people I've worked with, that we have changed their operations, changed their lives by things we're able to do through the agronomy side of things. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I say it all the time that what we do is not magic. It's based off of science and real data. It's not some fly-by-night deal where we're in and we're out. You always taught me this, that we're looking for lifelong customers and lifelong friends. This is not something that we want to turn into a quick transaction
No.
and get down the road. So, Preston, thank you very much for the advice. That's fantastic. I knew that this was going to be kind of short and sweet, but as we close out this season, if you're looking even this one seed treatment, we're talking $13, $14 net return on investment. That's just on corn. It can be used on wheat, alfalfa, cotton. That's where it was developed. Almost any seed that you're going to be planting, even your lawn. If you got to reseed some lawn, take a look at our seed treatment. If you'd like to find out more about what it is, where to get it, how to use it, please reach out to us on A Better Way to Farm. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on other social media platforms. Again, we thank you so very much for tuning into this. And as always, as we close out, we hope that you have a better day.